This holiday season, prepare to have the stuffing scared out of you. Thanksgiving. In the town of Plymouth, Massachusetts, the fourth Thursday in November is the most celebrated day of the year. The table is set. The festivities have begun. But an uninvited guest has arrived. And this year, there will be no leftovers. Thanksgiving. White meat, dark meat, all will be carved. Thanksgiving.
Come on, Judy, how about it?
Happy Thanksgiving, baby.
Thanksgiving.
Cool it, Judy. You're safe. Bobby's here. It's blood. Son of a bitch.
Arrive hungry.
Happy Thanksgiving, Grandma.
Leave stuffed. From director Eli Roth. Thanksgiving. You'll come home for the holidays in a body bag.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Cinemacast. You're watching this podcast right here on YouTube, our channel, Arrow Entertainment. Before I get into today's program, be sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below if you do enjoy our content, our podcast right here on the channel. And also, if you enjoy watching our live streams on here, you can enjoy them as well on our twitch.tv/Arrow with a name and kick.com/Arrow Entertainment channels as well. You can also follow us on Twitter at MikeCWA or MikeCAWAN right there on Twitter. I am getting tongue twisted today, guys. So all the links for everything that I just described is right down in the description section below, along with a link to our Discord server. If you're on Discord and you want to join our server for updates and many more, click that link down below as well. So you guys just witnessed the 2007 fake trailer for Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Now, back in 2007, before I get into the actual movie, back in 2007, there was a Grindhouse showing. The Grindhouse is usually some exploration film that is very explicit in detail, whether it's sex, violence, gore, whatever the nature of the movie is. You know, it has always been like a drive-in thing. It's always been like a theatrical thing. You would go out and see the Grindhouse flicks, you know, and usually they'd be like double features, you know, horror movies or horror thrillers or anything of that nature. So 2007, Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino thought that they could resurrect the whole Grindhouse theater experience, you know, the double feature. And that was a rare thing, you know, to bring to modern day, and it unfortunately only happened once. So there was two back-to-back movies that were playing. It was Planet Terror and Death Proof. And while those movies were playing back-to-back in theaters, and you got a ticket, you know, you paid to watch two movies, you know, and they had a break in between, you know, where you can go get some refreshments from the lobby, go use the bathroom, or check out some hilariously bad, or some were actually pretty good, trailers. And some of the trailers were fake that they played. And Thanksgiving was one of them. Now, fortunately, out of all those trailers that they played during that double feature, 2 of those movies actually came to be. One of them was Machete, which starred Danny Trejo, and the other one was Hobo with a Shotgun, which is a movie I wouldn't recommend. You know, I couldn't follow it myself. To me, it was a mess. It was a true mess. But Thanksgiving, it was one of those fake trailers, and you just watched it. You know, that was the nature of the movie. And right after they released that trailer, Eli Roth, he planned to have a feature-length adaptation begin back in 2007. 2010, he told CinemaBlend that he was writing a script with Jeff Rendell and that he hoped to complete it once he was done with the press for The Last Exorcism. By August of 2012, John Watts and Christopher Ford were set to write the screenplay with Roth and Rendell after they finished writing the Roth-produced movie Clown, which is another pretty decent horror film if you're into that kind of stuff. In June 2016, Roth revealed on Reddit that the script still needed work in order for the film to live up to the trailer. In February of 2019, reports indicated that Roth was slated to direct an undisclosed horror film for Miramax the next month in Boston, Massachusetts. Bloody Disgusting speculated that the film could potentially be Thanksgiving, but was unable to verify. In January of 2023, Deadline Hollywood reported that Spyglass Media Group was producing the film. Roth would depart from Borderlands, which is another film he's releasing next month, which is an adaptation to the video games Borderlands, passing additional photography off to Tim Miller in order to direct the film. And of course, the movie was released recently, November 17th, by TriStar Pictures, which is owned by Sony Pictures, you know, but TriStar, they very rarely distribute a film nowadays. They used to distribute films like they were a dime a dozen back in 1980s and the 1990s. Now, this movie is surprisingly good. It is shockingly good. I want to say this is probably the best horror slasher that we've seen in the last 10-15 years. And one of the better ones that we've seen come and go, like within the last 15 years, was the remake for My Bloody Valentine. Which, you know, the original was decent. I followed it. It was alright for its time. You know, it was probably shockingly good for its time back in I think it came out in the 1980s, I believe. But My Bloody Valentine 3D, you know, not only was the 3D gimmick done very well, and it was really good, but the movie, being as gory as it was, and it was really good, you know, for what it was very enjoyable, and it got high praise. And since then, you know, horror movies, your basic horror movie was mostly something of the paranormal, you know? It was mostly a ghost movie, something about some paranormal aspect, you know, that somebody's chasing, or a ghost that's following somebody. Or then you got the Conjuring series that comes out, you know, based off of the Ed and Lorraine Warren tapes of the investigations that they follow. But a lot of horror movies, you know, that have followed, like I said, it's always followed some kind of psychological horror theme, or it follows something of the, you know, like supernatural. But then along comes a movie like Thanksgiving, you know, that reinvents the horror genre in a sense. You got that classic style of whodunit mystery killer slasher movie with a good twist in the end. Now, this movie on Rotten Tomatoes, and you guys already know how I feel about Rotten Tomatoes ratings, rates at an 82% of 102 critics' reviews are positive. The website's consensus reads that a combining belly-busting humor with delightful over-the-top gore, Thanksgiving is a feast for Grindhouse fans. But it was also said that Thanksgiving follows the rules of the slasher genre, but it got more charged. It got a more charged and entertainingly hyperbolic atmosphere than these movies used to have. there are times you can feel that Thanksgiving's straining too mightily for a cult status, but it's not likely to achieve. But it seems a safe bet that the film will be trotted out like a turkey on cable TV, or cable channels and streaming services for many Thanksgivings to come. And everybody has their own horror movie or classic that they watch every year around the holiday season or certain holidays. Usually like Memorial Day is like, I don't know, some kind of war movie or Forrest Gump or some shit. Halloween time, you either got Halloween, which is the number 1 up there. Number 2, I think, ranked for top horror movie to watch around Halloween is Trick or Treat. That's like number 2. Around Thanksgiving time, your top movie, I would say at least, has to be Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's a classic. It's a comedy classic. You can't go wrong with that. And of course, y'all also saw my review for the other Thanksgiving classic, Dutch. And then around Christmas time, there's so many Christmas classics. You got Christmas Vacation, you got A Christmas Story, even if it's a cartoon like Charlie Brown Christmas, so there's so many classics. But I think the very top number 1 tier Christmas movie is A Christmas Story. Now, why am I getting into a Christmas comedy? Well, as I stated before, or I may not have, the director Bob Clark, he directed the 1970-some horror slasher Black Christmas. So go figure, Bob Clark, he directed a horror slasher in the 70s titled Black Christmas, and then turns around, he creates an 80s comedy, Porky's, and then which is a real raunchy R-rated comedy, and then you got a Christmas comedy classic, A Christmas Story. So that fits into his repertoire very well. But yeah, then comes along as it's saying that, Thanksgiving is trying to hit a cult status right now of being one of the top movies, even if it's horror movies, to watch around the holidays, especially like with Thanksgiving. Now, the trailer came out, like I said, and Eli Roth, he finally got around to writing, producing, and directing this movie. And this movie, it's as good as I can put it. So you're basically going to have a setup to why the killer is doing what he's doing, and then you got a setup to who the killer really is. But then there's a couple twists with it that I was trying to figure out from the beginning. Now, I want to say, okay, I'm going to go into some spoilers here. And as I always state on the podcast here, if you don't want to hear any spoilers of the movie, if you want to see the movie first, go see the movie, then come back to the review. Otherwise, let's get into it. So I want to say the first 10 minutes or so of the movie. You got this, this big family that's trying to celebrate Thanksgiving. And the main guy, he's the father of the one girl, who's played by Nell Verlaque. I don't even know how to pronounce her name. She's fairly new to me. She doesn't have a Wikipedia page or anything. She's a up and coming new actress, of course, so I don't recognize her body of work. But the guy who plays the father, his name is Thomas. He is played by Rick Hoffman. Now, Rick Hoffman, when I recognized his face, and I was like, I've seen him somewhere. I've seen him in a couple of movies, and oh yeah, he's done quite a bit of work for Eli Roth. He was in he was in Hostel 1 and 2. I also see him in the movie The Condemned with Stone Cold Steve Austin. The video game adapted film Postal, which I thought was pretty decent. It was fucking hilarious. But he was only in just a few movies, but he was also in a slew of TV shows as well. So to me, he's a familiar face because I remember seeing him in Hostel. So you got this guy who runs this fancy store. It's kind of like a Great Value version of Walmart, even though Walmart has like Great Value stuff. It's like off-brand and all. But this movie's the store is called Right Way or something. I forgot what it was called. But anyway, during this Thanksgiving session, one of the family members or friends, is called away. He has to work Thanksgiving night, to get ready for the Black Friday sales. And of course, what good Thanksgiving movie wouldn't be complete without Black Friday and the horrors that lie within? And that's where most of the comedic relief comes in, is within the first 10 minutes. You got these teenagers, they've done had their dinner, and some of the teenagers are going out, they're meeting up, they're going to a movie or something. I forgot what it was. But they end up going to the store, and they're trying to sneak in and grab a few things, and they're let in by one of the young guys who is on the security team. And there's a security team of 2 people that are standing out front trying to keep a mob of people at bay behind these fucking gate barriers. And all the while, the store's getting ready to open. And one of the biggest things that night is the first 100 customers in the store get a free waffle maker. Now, that has got to be the cheesiest thing when it comes to something like that. You don't see that kind of thing anywhere on Black Friday. The first 50 people get a fucking $1,000 gift card, to Walmart or something. You don't see anything like that. But of course, a movie comes along like this, and they got to add some comedic relief. It's like, okay, the first 100 people will get a free waffle maker. So you got this angry mob outside that is trying to get in. One of them is this woman who works in a diner. She is such a Karen. And then you got this teenage snob who is like on the fucking sports team. He's there riling up the fucking people. And they see this group of teenagers. They see them inside grabbing stuff and checking it out with nobody else in the store. So this angers the mob. So they decide to rush the gate, head for the door. One of the security guards, he runs inside the store, bolt locks the door shut. And at this point, you got a mob of about a couple hundred people pressing against the front of this store. And then you see the glass cracking on the windows and the doors. And then finally, it just gives in. The glass breaks, the door gives in, and this poor security guard is trampled to death as all these people are bum rushing in. And they're just grabbing shit off the shelves, or they're beating each other up, they're ramming carts into each other and shit. All the while, one of these teenagers is standing on top of a cash register station, and he's live streaming. He's filming the entire thing as it's going on. And he's like, "Oh my god, this is insane. This is fucking crazy." So he's filming the entire thing, and then all the while, this woman who's the mother of the young girl in the movie, she shows up to drop off some lunch for her. Now, I'm guessing, okay, it's the wife of the store manager. So, this is something else. So, I'll get into this a little bit later, okay? So, the wife of the store manager, Mitch, Mitch is the guy who's called in to work on Thanksgiving night. She brings him some lunch, brings him some late Thanksgiving dinner, and she gets caught up in the crowd. Everybody's bum rushing each other. She gets knocked down, and her head gets bashed by a couple shopping carts. These 2 stupid bitches fighting each other, and then this poor woman, her hair gets caught in one of the carts as it's rolling away and scalps her, but she ends up dead. But then, not only do you see, the Mitch, the store manager, he's in shock. And you got this sheriff. The guy is the sheriff. He's a friend of the family too. So he's in shock as well. So you figure, okay, this guy's a close friend of the family, and he's like, oh my god, I can't believe this is happening. People are dying on Black Friday. Well, it's technically Thanksgiving night, but it's for fucking Black Friday sales and shit. And everybody can relate to the first 10 minutes of this film already, because in recent decades, look at all the people that have bum rushed Walmarts and Targets and Kmarts and Ames stores and anywhere else, beating each other up, threatening to kill each other, trampling over each other, just to get fucking hot deals on TVs and microwaves and Elmos for their kids and all that. You can find these type of videos online. Even South Park parodied this a few years ago when the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One came out. And it was like, there will be blood. There was blood. There was bloodshed all over the mall and everything. You know, people killing each other. So that's the sad nature that this can be. It's not fictional. Like, things like this have happened. People have gotten hurt. People have died, been trampled to death. And it's amazing, you know, within the human nature of ourselves, you know, like, with as greedy and selfish as we can be, you know, end up killing somebody over a fucking toaster. But that's where the theme of the, well, you would think that's where the theme of the movie kicks in is this night. Well then, it starts off right after that, 1 year later, you know. And of course, you know, you got movies like I Know What You Did Last Summer, you know, where the kids run over this guy in the road, you know, and then they dump his body into the river or lake or whatever it is, and they vow never to talk about it again. And then of course, a year later, there's this killer that's haunting them. You know, but that's almost like the same theme that happens with this movie, okay? You know, you had this big Black Friday incident going on, and then a year later, these kids are being haunted. They're being taunted, you know, via the internet. You know, everybody's linked on Twitter or whatever website they're on. So you got this guy that calls himself John Carver, who seems to be the theme, a pilgrim by the name of John Carver. You know, everybody's wearing the masks, you know, on Thanksgiving. You know, they're getting ready to have a big Thanksgiving parade. It's a year later. But then you got this guy who's posting pictures on the internet linking these kids to something. You know, he takes a picture of a table with their names on these cards for them and all. And then as the days go by, this John Carver killer ends up killing off people one by one. And they're all linked to this Black Friday massacre. Everybody that was on this live stream video that you see on this live stream video, everybody that was involved ends up getting killed off one by one. So the rest of the movie is focusing on these kids and this sheriff and his police department trying to figure out who did it, who's going at it and why, what's the motive behind what this guy's doing. Now, I will also say that during this film, there's at least 2 or 3 scenes in this movie that have been recreated from the 2007 trailer. And that is pretty unique. That's a pretty interesting thing that Eli Roth has done. You know, despite this being almost somewhat different than what the original trailer has portrayed. You know, he managed to keep some of the scenes intact to make it feel like this movie is tied in with the original trailer, which is something I do like. You know, like there's a scene where you got the cheerleader girlfriend, you know, to the high school jock. You know, she pulls him to the gymnasium and she wants to show him something, so she gets on a trampoline and starts stripping. But it's done a little bit more different, you know. You see the boyfriend get killed off in a particular way, and she's still jumping on the trampoline. She's not getting completely naked, but she's in her cheerleading uniform. She's taking her thong off, you know, her underwear off, and then you see the knife pop up through the trampoline, and it ends up cutting her foot, and it's like it keeps popping up in different areas where she's jumping until she comes down hard on it and ends up killing her. Then you got the Thanksgiving parade, you know, that's taking place, and of course it's almost like a complete exact scene from the trailer. You know, you got the parade going on, and around this time they're trying to lure out the killer, you know, into the public, you know, try to figure out who the killer is, and then of course, you know, they come in of nowhere, you know, chop off the head of one of the guys that's wearing the turkey costume. So that scene's left in there. So after all this, you know, some of the friends are killed off, you know, in pretty grotesque ways. You know, like I said, this movie is gory. It's nice and gory. It's got a good bit of gore and blood in it, you know. So that's what you expect out of a film like this. You know, something that's based off a Grindhouse trailer. This is basically supposed to be like a Grindhouse movie. You know, it's supposed to be very explicit. It's supposed to be gory. It's supposed to make you feel sick or nauseous when you're watching it. If you're somebody who's squeamish when it comes to horror movies like this is what, you know, Eli Roth is aiming for, and I love it. I love every bit of it. So it's like, you know, to today's standard, you know, people with, you know, who find things offensive and are too politically correct, it's like, okay, this movie's not for you, which is good, because you look at it and you're like, oh, that's too sickening. You're like, yeah, well, that's too bad. You know, you can either watch it, enjoy it, or shut up and get going, you know? So anyway, while they're trying to figure out who this killer is, you know, even during the Thanksgiving parade, you know, and the killer is dressed up in another costume, you know, to hide her identity. So it's not like, you know, it's okay, you know, everybody's looking for John Carver, you know, dressed as a pilgrim with the mask and the hat. And, you know, and the axe. So he ends up knocking out the rest of the teenagers that are alive, and, you know, knocks them out with a tranquilizer gun. And he takes them, you know, hostage. He takes them to where, you know, this table's set up. Now, mind you, every person that he's killed up to this point, whether, you know, somebody was cut in half or somebody was decapitated, there was always pictures showing up on Twitter, you know, of who that person was, whether it was the woman from the diner, the Karen from the diner, whether it was one of the security guards that ran off like a little bitch, you know, certain people that were involved. So anyway, there's a scene, and it's almost not quite mimicking from what the original trailer has portrayed. It's a different setting, you know, it's a different room. And it's a different group of people. But he's got everybody, you know, bound and gagged and tied there, you know, in their chairs. And he's welcoming them, you know, with a microphone and a voiceover and all. Now, one particular thing that is also mimicked from the original trailer. There's a particular person, I'm not going to say who ends up getting cooked in an oven. And the whole scene is probably excruciating to people who are watching this movie, okay? This woman is getting, you know, she tries to escape, but ends up failing to do so. So she ends up waking up in this oven. And so, you know, this guy, he's cooking her alive in this oven. And when it comes to this one scene with everybody around a table, you know, he does have her tied up like a turkey with her head, you know, chopped off on the side. And it's just so Eli Roth to have scenes like this, you know, that can, you know, up the factor of what the fuck or oh my god for some people, you know. And I'm just sitting here watching it, and I'm like, this is good, you know. This is really good. This is like 70s or 80s garbage, and I love it. I love every bit of it. This is something that, you know, you would see in an old 70s or 80s movie. So you got a scene where he's cutting a piece off of the woman, you know, she's already cooked. She's cooked like a turkey, white meat, cuts a piece off and feeds it to the father, you know, and of course he throws up in his mouth. But then there's a scene where the kids manage to escape, and they find their way out of there, you know, to the police, you know, and everybody's found safe. But then there's the big twist. And this is where it kind of confuses me a little bit here, because I'm trying to think, okay, wait a minute, I thought I saw this guy get knocked out earlier in the parade, but it was somebody else, because I'm trying to keep track of, you know, who this person is and who that person is. So it turns out that the killer is the sheriff. That's the big twist. Here's how the killer is the sheriff, but it's like, why is the sheriff the killer? Well, apparently, back at the beginning of the movie, during the Black Friday, you know, massacre, the woman that's killed, Mitch's wife, the sheriff was having an affair with this woman, and she was pregnant with his child, and that set him off. So I'm like, okay, so at first I thought this woman was married to the one girl's father, Thomas. But I guess they must have been divorced. I have no idea. So she's married to this guy, Mitch, and then she's having an affair with the sheriff. I'm like, God damn, this one woman was getting around, and her death set this one person off. Like, you know, this whole fucking thing, you know, that happened, and it just triggers something in the sheriff's mind, and he's going around, you know, grotesquely killing people, like cutting them in half, cutting their heads off, stabbing the hell out of them in grotesque ways. Like, it's just so, like, what the fuck, you know? So you find out the sheriff is the John Carver killer, you know? But there's a thing that ensues, you know, there's a fight that ensues between him and the young girl who figures it out. Eventually, she ends up feeling like she kills him off, you know, in a parade, you know, she fills this parade balloon with this special gas. I think it's like helium or whatever, and ends up shooting a balloon, causing an explosion, and sets him on fire. So you're presuming that the guy's dead, right? Well, then when the paramedics and the fire department shows up and they're searching the scene, they say, we can't find his body. So he's presumed missing, you know, but who knows? There'll probably be a sequel to it. Who knows? But then the ending. This is what's more interesting. The ending has the kind of ending that I Know What You Did Last Summer had. Where you got, you know, the girl and her boyfriend, they're laying in bed, you know, they're sleeping. It was like sometime later. And she hears a noise coming from the closet. And she goes to the closet to see what it is. And there's nothing in there. But then she turns around and out pops the sheriff who's on fire, grabs her. And then, of course, she ends up waking up from a nightmare as she looks over, you know, and she doesn't see anything. You know, she continues to have nightmares of the flaming sheriff attacking her in the bedroom closet. Just like with I Know What You Did Last Summer. You know, where the girl Julie, played by, what the hell was her fucking name? I can't remember it. I'm getting old, goddammit. Is it, Jennifer something? Hold on. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Okay, so it's, Jennifer Love Hewitt. That's who it was. So you got Jennifer Love Hewitt at the end of that movie. Was it the first one? I think it was the first one, yeah. No, at the end of the first one, she was in the shower. She notices the words, I still know. And then a dark figure comes crashing through as she screams. It was I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, where she's in her bedroom and, you know, she's engaged to her boyfriend, Ray, and he's ended up killed off. And then she ends up getting killed off screen. So you got that kind of situation going on with the ending here. And it's typical for certain horror movies to do that, to give you a cliffhanger ending, as to say, is this character going to be alright? Are they alive? Is the killer still alive? You never know. That's the clever thing about horror movies, especially slashers. Yeah, they never truly have a good happy ending. There's always something that happens that makes you think, oh shit, there's going to be a sequel, but then you never end up getting a sequel that you're looking for. But I feel like with this movie, with the way it ended, with the way the plot is, and the plot is it's not really ridiculous. You got a person who's, you know, on a savage hunt to kill off people that were involved in a live stream, you know, that took place during this Black Friday massacre, and the woman that he loved, that he was having an affair with, is killed off. So, but it's interesting to have a town sheriff be the killer. I've never really seen that in a movie. I mean, there have been movies or TV shows with vigilante cops. Yeah, caps, what am I saying? With vigilante cops and such. But I don't remember recalling any movie that had a sheriff that, you know, knew their way around, that was toying with the investigation in a sense, and then end up being the killer. You know, that was a very clever twist with this movie. You know, with the way Eli Roth, with the way he wrote it, the way it's produced, the way the story is, the characters, everything is placed together cleverly. And it also follows along with the original trailer, the original Thanksgiving trailer. You know, it's still I want to say it kind of pays homage to that fake trailer from 2007, and it does it very well. Now, do I feel like this movie deserves a cult status in a sense? I don't see it being a movie of cult status. I see it, to me, it's like a once or twice viewing, maybe. But then again, there's a lot of slashers that I've watched over and over again if I feel like it. You know, like Halloween or Friday the 13th. Even like Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer. I still watch them from time to time. You know, usually if I'm in the mood for it. You know, that kind of thing. That's what I see this movie being. I don't see it being like a cult Thanksgiving movie. It's like, oh, Thanksgiving's coming up, people. It's time to watch our favorite horror movie, Thanksgiving. It's like, I don't see it being that, because a holiday like Thanksgiving, which is about family, it's a loving holiday. You know, it's a holiday about being thankful for, you know, for what you have in your life and who you have in your life, what you're thankful for and stuff. I see like Halloween being a traditional holiday for watching horror movies. Same thing with Christmas being a traditional holiday for watching Christmas movies. Even though there are some Christmas movies out there that are horror related, like Black Christmas or Silent Night, Deadly Night or Santa's Sleigh. You know? So every holiday has a particular horror movie to go along with the theme. And some of them could be cult status related. I don't know. I don't really see this one being it. I just seeing it being a typical slasher that you could probably watch anytime during the year. Same thing with like Black Christmas. So Thanksgiving, Eli Roth, job well done, buddy. You know, you did very well with this. It took 15 or 16 years to get this script up off the floor or off the table or on the table, however you want to put it, to get it on the table, you know, to get people to look at it and say, okay, let's do this, let's write this, we'll do that. You know, it took them 15, 16 years to get it on the table, and it finally is done. You know, it took them a short amount of time to film it, you know, and get it all put together, but it is truly a cinematic masterpiece in a sense. You know, this is something that has been longed for since 2007. It has been longed for. It was probably one of the most favorite fake trailers that people enjoyed watching from back in 2007. And the movie's finally out. It finally delivers. It is very good. Those are my thoughts on the movie. I give Thanksgiving a solid 9 out of 10, guys. 9 out of 10. While it may have its certain flaws to it, every movie does. No movie is perfect. But I feel like this movie does deserve a 9 out of 10. I definitely enjoyed this movie. This was a fun movie. It had a good amount of humor to it. You know, not a lot of horror movies will have that. But I look at it like this. This movie feels like a typical 80s slasher. And a lot of slashers out of the 70s and 80s have a good bit amount of humor to them. You know, like a comedic relief in a sense. And that's what this movie does, you know, in a way. So it takes it back to that standard. It's like, okay, it's like you're watching a traditional or classic 80s or 90s horror slasher. That's how it feels. Even though it's taking place in modern times, you know, you got the kids that have the cell phones and shit, and they're you know, they're relying on social media and all that. But along comes something in a movie like this that reminds you, it's like, not everything today modern can really help you out or save you. Yeah, you know? So this movie, it does have that feeling of being a traditional 80s slasher or 90s slasher. So it is definitely worth watching. If you guys have yet to see it, go check it out. Thanksgiving, we give it a 9 out of 10. And that is it for today's episode of Cinemacast, guys. Definitely thank you guys so much for sticking to the end and listening to this review of 2023's Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. If you guys have yet to do so, be sure to hit that like and follow button down below. Make sure you follow and subscribe to us on the YouTube channel. Also, all the links down below in the description section for our streaming channels, our social media, and our Discord link is also down there. So, anyway, guys, thank you for joining me today. Catch you next week for another episode of Cinemacast. And until next time, we'll catch you right here, right back here at the cinema.